want to talk to you guys today about something that I believe is one of the most powerful and overlooked forces on the planet. I want to talk to you today about joy. Why joy? Of all the topics I could have picked to talk about. Well, I run a company that has built its entire foundation on the infectious power of joy. I am the CEO and one of the executive producers at a company called SoulPancake. And so you've heard of it. Okay, great. We're a media and production company that was built on a single premise: to get people to talk about life's big questions, those big topics that we all think about but don't talk about. Our company was founded about 6 years ago by this dude, Rainn Wilson, who you may know, obviously, from the TV show The Office, where he played Dwight Schrute. And at the time, about 6 years ago, Rainn was getting well known for playing this character. And he decided that he wanted to do something good, and he wanted to create something positive on the internet, because there was a lot of crap out there at the time online. And so he said, I'm going to make a website that makes it possible to have meaningful conversations around big topics like spirituality, philosophy, art, creativity. And he started this website, soulpancake.com. And about a year and a half later, we published a book, a New York Times bestseller. And then about 2.5 years ago, we got into the production space, creating video content that achieved our mission. And the video content that we create really does just that. It opens hearts, it provokes thought, but it does it all in not at all a precious or airy-fairy cheesy way. It's all very meaningful, but still fun and uplifting and engaging. So I'd like to play for you now a video that gives you a sense of the type of content we make.
Y'all need a pep talk.
We talk about life's big questions and profound topics.
You guys are asking some deep questions. This is deep.
You know that I have a great discomfort with that.
That's why I wanted to talk to you.
Is there such a thing as an original idea?
This was great. Everyone was dancing with each other, and it was really fun.
To integrity.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that sense of completely letting go.
You don't have to find out you're dying to start living.
I swear to God, I feel like someone planted us here for this reason.
Destiny.
SoulPancake.
Thank you. So that gives you a sense of the type of content we create. And today, SoulPancake is lucky enough to work with brands like Disney and the United Nations. We've made television specials for Oprah Winfrey, for MTV and VH1. And we also have a premium YouTube channel. And it's really been on our YouTube channel that SoulPancake has found its voice. YouTube is an interesting phenomenon. A little while ago, YouTube was nothing more than the place you went to watch videos of dogs on skateboards or Charlie biting fingers or Family Guy clips. That's what you went to YouTube for. And in the last couple of years, YouTube has undergone a transformation. It's now become a space where you can go to consume quality original programming. Today, more than 6 billion hours of content are consumed on YouTube each month. Think about that. That's almost an hour of programming for every single human being on the planet. It's enormous. And SoulPancake was lucky enough about a year and a half ago to become a premium partner with YouTube and launch a channel. When we launched our channel, we had about 2,000 subscribers. Today, we have more than 700,000 subscribers, and our videos have had more than 100 million views. And it's really been on YouTube that we've seen the power of joy in action and the infectious quality that joy has. So what I want to do is I want to tell you 3 stories about joy that we've seen on our YouTube channel. And before I do that, I just want to take a second to define what I mean by joy. What I mean by joy is not a feeling. It is not a feeling like happiness or sadness or anger that comes and goes. Joy is something that is permanent. It radiates from inside your soul. And I believe that joy comes from letting go of the things that we are attached to. It is about becoming detached from the outcome of things, not worrying about whether my goals are going to be achieved or whether it's going to work out well or what other people think about me. When you let go of those feelings and you open up the idea that you are connected to something bigger, that's when joy is brought into your heart. And that's the type of joy that is infectious. So I'm going to tell you these 3 stories about joy. This is Zach Sobayek. When we met Zach, he was 17 years old, and he had been diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a cancer of the bone. And doctors had told him he had 6 months left to live. It was devastating. It was a devastating diagnosis. And so Zach decided, rather than spending 6 months of his life that he had left focused on the things he wasn't going to be able to do, or what he would have done with the time he would have had, or spending all of his time focused on chemotherapy and trying to knock things off of his bucket list, he instead said, I'm going to spend the next 6 months of my life focused on forging the relationships with the people around me. And Zach is a truly joyful person. And so what SoulPancake did is we heard about his story, and we said, we want to make a documentary about Zach. And we made a 20-minute film as part of our My Last Days series on YouTube. And this is a series where we profile individuals under 30 with terminal illnesses. And we did a 20-minute documentary on Zach, and all we did was capture his joyful presence. We posted this video, and it got 10 million views. And it was shared. It was featured on CNN and Katie Couric. And people started writing in saying, we want to somehow help. So we facilitated a fundraiser, and we were able to raise $500,000 for osteosarcoma research in Zach's name. It was great. It was amazing. Thank you. And I really believe that it was because of Zach's joyful spirit that he was able to create this social action and this movement. By the time he died this last May, Zach had affected 30 million people with his story. This is Robbie Novak. You might know him as Kid President, by applause. How many people? All right. He's adorable. Kid President has an interesting story. So the way that his series came about is he was sitting with his brother-in-law, Brad, and the two of them were sitting and having a conversation, and Brad was telling Robbie about the fact that he and his sister were going to have a baby. Robbie was talking to Brad, and Brad basically said, we're going to have a child. And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, Robbie, to be an example to my son about what a joyful child is like and how children can be awesome. And Robbie said, well, I don't know how to do that. And he said, well, you got to figure it out. And he said, well, maybe if I was president, I could figure out how to be a good example for your son. And so this launched an idea. Well, what if a kid was president? What would be the message of that kid? And they made a video, and SoulPancake saw it. And we decided to bring bring Kid President into the SoulPancake family and air videos. And when we did that, about 6 months later, we decided to post a short film called The Pep Talk. And the Pep Talk was supposed to be about spreading Kid President's message, which is it's everybody's duty to give the world a reason to dance. And so we posted this video, and about 30 days later, it had nearly 30 million views. And Kid President started essentially a community of people who believed in the power of being awesome and joyful. And it's been interesting to see that in action. Last month, we dubbed October the month of Socktober. And what we did in that month was Kid President posted a video and said, I want everyone to make October Socktober and gather basic goods like socks for the homeless and donate them to your local shelter. And what we saw was, we thought, okay, well, maybe some people will do this. And what we saw was an outpouring of people got on board with Socktober. 10,000 shares and Facebook posts were listed about Socktober. We had more than 500 videos come in from schools around the country showing them gathering boxes and taking them to their homeless shelters. And one shelter in Arkansas was able to raise $65,000 for its services from the Socktober campaign that we did. Again, joy and the power it has to be infectious. Then there is our street team. We do a series on our SoulPancake YouTube channel called The Street Team. And what we do is we go out to public street corners and we build giant, larger-than-life props. And we encourage people, ordinary people on the street, to come together and interact with them to create meaningful connections. And one of the street stunts that we've done is we built a giant ball pit on a corner of a street and invited people to take a seat and make a friend. And I think some of you have seen that ball pit here at TEDx Youth at San Diego, which is awesome. We also one time rented a 1970s bus and we filled it with a bunch of folks dressed in disco outfits and afros, and we drove up to bus stops and played Celebration and threw a pop-up disco party at bus stops, which was a lot of fun, all about celebration and joy. And this one here is from a video called Heart Attack, which shows that you don't have to be a young boy dying of cancer or a very gregarious 10-year-old to spread joy. Joy can be spread by anyone. So I'd like to play that video for you guys. Thank you. So these are just 3 types of the ambassadors of joy that we've made at SoulPancake. And I think that what I've realized is that people in general fall along a type of spectrum of joy. There are the people who just exude it and are bouncing with joy, the Tiggers of the world, as I call them. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, the Eeyores, that are a little bit more sullen and slow and sulking. And I like to think that if you are naturally inclined to be an Eeyore, you are not destined to always be that way. I believe that anyone can allow joy into their heart. And the reason that I know this is because I used to be an Eeyore. I was absolutely a negative, sullen, sulky person about 10 years ago. I was cynical. And I used to say, well, I'm not cynical, I'm just a realist. The world is tough and the world is difficult and there's a lot of things out there that are wrong with it, and I'm just a realist. And it was one of those things that I would come home and I would tell my parents, like, well, this isn't working out, I need to work harder at this and I need to be better at this. And I just focused on those negative, judgmental feelings, most of which I was putting on myself. I didn't even know what it meant to be a joyful person. And the time that that actually changed for me was with SoulPancake. So I'm going to tell you how I started with SoulPancake. I actually studied journalism. And when I was doing my master's program, I wrote a thesis about creating a magazine that would make spirituality and philosophy cool again. And I wrote this thesis, and then I graduated, and I put it in a box and put it in my parents' basement, or garage. And then about 7 years later, I was in Washington, D.C., and I was working as a journalist, and I heard on the radio an interview with Rainn Wilson, and he was talking about this website he was going to start, soulpancake.com, and how it was going to be a place to make spirituality and philosophy cool again, and I thought, oh my God, Rainn Wilson stole my idea. And I was so mad. And I focused on the negative. I said, well, of course he did. He's an actor, and he's got all this money and resources, and of course he's going to have this awesome idea that I had like 7 years ago, but fine, that's just the way the world is. Now, interestingly, a couple days later, I was actually leaving for a vacation with my family. And we were all going on this kind of holy trip pilgrimage, and my mom was very excited about this trip. She was very excited. She was like, the whole family's going to be together. We're all doing this together. I had no desire to go on this trip. I was not interested in going on this, but when mom says we're going on a trip, we're going on a trip. So I went on this trip. And while everyone was, saying their prayers and they were visiting all of these holy places, all I was thinking is, Rainn Wilson stole my idea. And I was really sullen. I was a full-on Eeyore. And I was very upset about it. And I spent the entire 10 days we were on that trip thinking about this project. And now I realize that what I was actually doing was meditating about it because I was thinking about it so much. And by the end of that trip, I had made a decision. And I decided that I wasn't going to worry what the outcome was, but I was going to find a way to reach out and say that I wanted to help with SoulPancake. And I wasn't going to worry on whether it was going to happen because, let's be honest, the reality is that the chances were slim that anything was going to happen. But I was going to do it anyway. So I came back and I reached out to a bunch of people I knew in LA to put me in touch with Rainn, and eventually they did, and they were launching their website and didn't have any content, and I made content, and that was 5.5 years ago. And I think that was the moment when I realized that hope and joy were possible, because it planted a seed in me that if I let go of the outcome of this and I just tried, it was going to work out. Whatever way it did, it was just going to happen and I was going to try it. And I think that was the moment that I realized that maybe I wasn't destined to be an Eeyore forever and I could let joy in. And it's not to say that this is easy. Every single day I'm working to be more joyful. And there are plenty of times that I wish things about my life were different or happier. I wish I was in love. I wish I could afford to buy a house. I wish I wasn't such an introvert sometimes. I wish I had better skin. But despite all of those things, I wake up every day with joy in my heart, and that's a huge departure from where I was before. So what I want to leave you with is an action and a thought. The action is this: go out and be an ambassador of joy. Spread joy to those around you and in your world. Infiltrate your world with joy and infect it with joy. This is a very hard thing to do. We live in a world where if you're joyful and you're positive and you smile a lot, people often dismiss you. They think you're stupid or naive or that you can't be taken seriously. And oftentimes, the more cynical people are the ones that are seen as cool. And at some point, it became cool to not care. It became cool to be indifferent and be apathetic. And I like to think, and this is the secret that I'm going to tell you, is that joy is actually the most rebellious force on the planet. Being joyful is an act of rebellion, and joy itself is a counterculture to the world we live in today. Which leads to the question, how? How can I be an ambassador of joy? Well, that's where my thought for you comes in. And this is the thought. It's a quote that's attributed to Theodore Roosevelt, and it's become one of my absolute favorites. And the quote is, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And this is a really, really powerful thought. In today's world, social media kind of drives all of us. All of you today have probably been on Facebook on your phones in some capacity, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or Snapchat or Tinder or whatever your app of choice is. These apps were meant to bring people together and create community. But instead, what I think they've done is created a culture of comparison. You look at what people post on Facebook and Instagram, and it's always their best foot forward. You post your best looking photos, your epic trip to Italy, that awesome party you were at the night before. And for those who are viewing those posts, it makes you feel like, my life isn't that full. My life isn't that cool. My life isn't that awesome. And if there's one thought I can leave you with as your first step to becoming an ambassador of joy, it's to put that comparison out of your heart. Stop comparing your life to the lives of others. Jealousy, envy, comparing yourself to others, they have no place when it comes to spreading joy. With that, I'd like to say, let go, be an ambassador of joy, and spread joy to those around you. Thank you.